Baby, you understand me now. If sometimes you see that I'm mad, don't you know no one alive can always be an angel? When everything goes wrong, you see some bad. But I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood. understand me now? If sometimes you see that I'm mad, don't you know no one alive can always be an angel? When everything goes wrong, you see some bad. But I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be Theoretically speaking.
Hey guys, what's up? I'm Victoria Herrera, and welcome to another Friday night here on Theoretically Speaking Live. All right, so if you guys don't know by now, we host a weekly talk show or interview show here on Facebook, Kumu, and YouTube. And basically what we do is we interview industry experts about their knowledge on anything from fashion, brand building, the creative industry, music, art. We just try to bring in people that we feel we can have amazing, authentic, and honest conversations with and just have a good time. It is Friday night, ladies and gentlemen. So before we get started, I just want to remind you to follow us at Next Theory on Facebook, Kumu, and YouTube. And yeah, give us a like, click subscribe. You know the drill. If you watch enough YouTube videos this whole quarantine, you know the drill. All right, so just to introduce our guest, she is an awesome friend of mine. I've known her for a few years, ever since I moved to Hong Kong when I was building my early days of being a consultant. I would really look up to this person to give me advice. She is the epitome of a girl boss, I swear. She has so much strength and power in her, even when she speaks. And then when I moved back to the Philippines, I was able to reconnect with her again when she was living here for a little bit. And, at that point, we connected really over our roots and how it was growing up in the Philippines and our culture and how it was working here and working globally. So to give you a formal introduction, we have with us here tonight brand and marketing strategist Jane D, who is an expert in creating innovative brand differentiation, and she creates extraordinary branded experiences. Her systematic approach in brand building, combined with cutting-edge thinking and a creative flair, has allowed her to successfully develop brand campaigns, both regional and local, and her activations for premium consumer giants such as Moët Hennessy and Crate & Barrel have earned her tons of industry recognition. She is currently the co-founder and CMO of Beyond Beauty Global, a boutique consultancy firm specializing in health, wellness, and beauty brands based in Hong Kong. Ladies and gentlemen, let's please welcome Miss Jane D. Clap, clap.
Hi. It doesn't
Jane,
sound like me.
Is my audio okay, by the way? I'm just double
Very
checking.
good. I was like, oh my God, she speaks so well.
Really? This
I
is how I
love
talk.
it. I know.
But this is,
So we're live.
well, yeah, we were live. No, but whenever I have to host, I have to do that whole like
Feel.
spiel, or you get into host mode. But for this conversation, I really just want to just have a good conversation with a good friend of mine, which is you.
I know. Sending love from Hong Kong, everyone, whoever is watching.
Oh,
Happy Friday.
I can't believe it. So I haven't seen you in over a year.
Yeah.
I think the last time I saw you was in Hong Kong when I was staying at your place for a few days. I was crashing on your couch.
I remember.
And yeah,
which was the coronavirus, right?
It was before COVID. Yeah, it was 2019. Around June was the last time I was in Hong Kong.
Wow.
I know. I haven't.
I keep thinking it's only like 2020. It's like 2021.
Yeah.
Seems so fast.
It's so unheard of because I always see you. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like we may not post about it every time I see you, but I know I always see you at least every few.
Yeah, and every time we talk, it's like no times of like it hasn't passed or anything, right? So it's good.
Yeah. So first off, how are you, and how are things in Hong Kong?
I think Hong Kong is a lot better these days. We had a fourth lockdown, a fourth wave that recently was just it got lifted, so all the restaurants are open until 10. It used to be until 6 p.m., which is it's kind of bad, right? For the industry, for people, for all the businesses. And everyone's getting like lockdown fatigue. I, for one, was that. So I think we lifted up last week. And yeah, it was great. Even though it was until 10, at least we were like, socializing early. You can go home early, and the next day you can still have your health and wellness. So yeah, there's a bit more life back in the city. There's a bit more positive outlook. And hopefully it continues on because the vaccine, it's already in town. And I think they're already doing it this week. So that's good news.
Yeah. And how has the whole quarantine experience been for you?
I think for me at least, I feel very, very grateful and lucky to be in Hong Kong because we can still go out and do, for me, it's more my health and wellness. It was so important. Like I have my morning routine, which I wake up in the morning, I do a daily devotion, meditation, and that's for spiritual health. And then I would go for a run or hike around the city or just be around nature. And that is so important because during the quarantine or during this entire pandemic, I feel like everyone has strength and anxiety coming up like randomly. And I didn't know how to properly control that. And if I feel like one of the things that I made sure I took care of was my mental health. And if that is not balanced and I can't find my equilibrium, I can't work, I can't eat. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. There's a little bit of that for me was the key and the most crucial thing this year. And friendship, my relationships with my friends here also got it was strengthened a little bit more, like not a bit, a little bit more, like quite a lot. And they became my family here. I mean, they're my savior. I speak to my parents quite a lot as well, but like my girlfriends here are the foundation of what's helping me survive, or at least helping me move forward with optimism.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I remember just when we would catch up on WhatsApp and even on our, so I'm getting messages on the side. When we would even talk or like FaceTime, you would tell me about this. Like even though, and this is some of the things that you sort of mentored me on, even if we were in an industry that was, very fast, with high pressure, a lot of expectations from clients or brands you work with to deliver. You always you would send me apps to check out for devotionals. You would send me meditations. You would help ground me that, okay, even if we're in this crazy industry that's brand building, and it is building an image, it is building this picture of a brand. He would always send me things to remind me to stay grounded and to not
because I feel like it's values, and you need to have values, really strong values and good foundation to keep you intact. Because a lot of other things you can't control, especially other people. And when you're brand building, you're always dealing with different energies, different expectations, different comments, different opinion. And you need to know yourself and be very self-aware of where you stand. And this is where I mean, like, when it comes to mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, obviously financially. But if these are all strong, no matter what people say or whatever drama you expect in business or in personal, you're intact.
You're
And
set.
it's very important.
All right, so we're gonna move. I love that little soul talk in the beginning. We're gonna move a little bit more to more about sorry, I stuttered there. More about work, really, and how you crafted, I guess, your work ethic and your thought process. When it comes to building a brand strategy, how do you develop one? How do you develop a product with a brand that you're working with?
Very, I was just saying, very big question on a Friday night.
Take out the wine now.
I know. But obviously, building a brand strategy takes a lot of, I mean, it's more than just a 45-minute talk. But the first thing I would look at is the audience. Like, if you're building a brand and you're building a company, who are you targeting? And you need to make sure if the audience is you, or the audience is like, you have to find your niche, like, what is the consumer behavior? What do they like doing? Where do they go? You need to understand the pattern of these people. And then once you know that, then you have to look at your business goals and marketing goals. And that means, where do you see this product next, in the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, or the company? And you need to be able to integrate that. You need to be able to be working on your short-term goals really, really properly and fast, and do a lot of market research. But your long-term goals, your vision, and your core objectives have to remain like front center of your entire brand strategy. The next would be, you need to conduct, I know I'm saying all these big words, but like I'm trying to do it in such a way that it's so like bullet points.
It is right.
Like you need to do market research. So that's third, right? Market research, meaning you need to know what your competitors are doing. So whatever it is industry that you're trying to build a brand or a company, you have to understand where you're placed in that entire spectrum of that market or industry. Say if it's food or if it's a beauty product, where do you want to position yourself? So what's the price point? What's the look and feel? How are you going to target them? And what are your competitors doing, so that you won't be copying them? And honestly, that's one thing I hate. If there's no innovation, you have to find your own way of thinking. And then you need to look at how the customers perceive you. So the customer experience, once you create the product, every little thing is all about the customer. It's not about you. It's how you treat your customer is what is important. So for them, they need to feel that they're very important, that the product is giving them or adding value to their lives, right? Because what's the point? What's the point of creating a product that doesn't solve an issue or solve a problem? Obviously, you need to have a proper strategy. Well, not strategy. Proper think of your visualization. Your identity and your brand look and feel. So who are you? Like, how do you look when people see you? Be it a service, be it a product, be it a company. Your logo should be good. It represents who you are. Your website, all the digital touch points has to be like easily available. And obviously, last but not the least, your social media strategy. And obviously, right now it's all about online, and every social media platform needs to be unified. I think I should look at that. I'm getting like I'm like thinking a lot now, and I was like, okay, we're about to get really difficult. But yeah, so
Like there's
like
consistency.
5 or 6 points, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there's like consistency in socials and web and your logo, and even
Correct.
if it was a physical space and how the venue looks or how the store
Yeah.
looks. And then that also translates to even how, for example, the culture is at the restaurant or the culture of the store,
Mm,
that the intangibles are still part of your brand. Um,
exactly.
what do you think people, not get the word get wrong, but what do you think they forget when they're building a brand strategy?
That they think it's about them, not about your customer. I feel like a lot of people, when one of the things, and I've gone through the same dilemma, and I've gone through the same thing working for different companies. That yes, I feel like I need to represent the brand to be able for the brand to look good on others. But no, you need to understand it's not about you. It's about them. You're taking care of a brand. Your brand steward. It's your responsibility. It's your baby. But this baby needs to serve others. And that's it. Any brand, any company that you're doing business with, it's about your customers, never about you.
Awesome.
I
So
think
moving
so.
on. So moving on to the next question, what are your customer retention strategies? Another big word for a Friday night.
Customer retention or customer loyalty, guys. Let's make it simpler. I want to talk simple. How
Have
do
you?
you how do you retain customers? Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? Okay.
Yes.
Make it simpler. Retention. All right.
So how do you
A
make sure that
brand,
you're giving the best experience to them?
yeah, but the first thing you need to understand about your brand, your service, or your company is you need to establish trust first. It's like building any relationship, be it with people, be it individuals, or be it with a brand and your customers. Like the first thing is your brand is a promise. Like my name is Jane D, and every single time you talk to me as a brand person, like you know what to expect. I can give you thoughtful answers, or I can give you like idiotic answers, whatever. So a brand is a promise, meaning like whatever a person expects from you or the customers expect, you need to be able to deliver that consistently over time in the next X amount of years. So that for me is the first step. You need to establish trust. And then first they're like, oh, wow, this is a great product. I love it. Great. A year later, they buy the same product. It has to be better, that gives them like, something that adds value to their lives, or whatever it is that their expectation is met. Or maybe even like, you know, you have to give them better experience. And I feel like how you do that is consistently doing the same thing that you promise over and over and over again. And I'm talking about a Chanel bag or all the way to a McDonald's. Everything that you expect to a Chanel, when you buy a brand at that price, from the time you step into the store, sorry, from the time you look at the website or their Instagram page to how you're researching it to looking at fashion shows on TV, from the store, how the customer service is, after sales, it's well thought out and it's all consistent. And the brand delivery and the brand positioning and the identity is always the same. Yes, they might have different changes, but you know you're getting the same value. Same if you're buying a Big Mac anywhere in the world. When you go to McDonald's, it smells the same, tastes the same, it's great. That is a brand. A brand is not, it doesn't mean it's a luxury brand. A brand is like whatever it is that they started off with, that's a consistent promise that I give you for the rest until the brand retires. Is that easy enough?
Yeah, that's great. So I'm hearing a lot of consistency.
It has to be. I think when you're talking about branding,
Yeah.
it's not about price. I mean, the price, yes, but a brand is your name, right? So who is Vicky? Who is Jane D? Same at what is Chanel? What is McDonald's? What is Apple? The customer has an expectation that you need to reach, and you have to be able to reach that all the time. That's it.
And what would you say were, for example, if you're talking to a client, what are key? Oh my God, I'm going to say another jargon on a Friday night, what do you think are key KPIs or, or performance indicators or results that they should keep track of when it comes to building their brand? Because sometimes some things are intangible, right? But what can you measure when you're talking about brand strategy with a client?
Well, I know this might sound kind of boring, but to be honest, it's still a business, right? So there has to be revenue.
Yeah.
It has to turn a profit. Because if there's no profit or there's no money involved, it's just a hobby. You're not building a business. It's just something that you're doing when you're having fun. So the key KPIs is like you have to be able to talk to the marketing director, and the business director has to be able to communicate to see, okay, I'm going to do this marketing strategy, but sales have to be X amount. So for me, it always has to have that revenue. So data is quite important. When it comes to building your brand presence, I think that's a little bit more tricky because everyone has their own way of building it now social in the virtual world and in a social media platform. It used to be number of followers, which I don't think is the case anymore. I feel like number of followers really don't mean anything unless they buy from you.
Okay.
Or I mean, not real, like not millions of followers. I feel like I'd rather have 100,000 followers that are consistently there for you and are more trusted versus like 300 million followers that like is just browsing on your page. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, like really, the word true fans or really loyal and engaged following.
Yeah.
Like a real tribe.
Correct. And you're like, I think especially now with COVID too, the word community has been coming out quite a lot. And it's the people that are the same, that have the same mindset or the same interests and likes, but at the same time, not just following you, but also helping each other out, finding win-win situations. Be it on a product, be it customer engagement, there has to be more helping each other out rather than just like following for the sake of like, oh, I'm in their page, But yes, I think there's a lot of KPIs we can think about, but I feel like on this conversation, honestly, if we're building a brand, then that's a business. And if it's a business, then it has to make money at some point. That's definitely. And then the other things, the branding and marketing behind, there's a lot of like stuff that we can talk about later on if you want. But views, impressions, engagements. I think engagements are better. So for me, engagements are a lot better than like views or impressions. So that's another KPI because when people are talking to you on your page, you have to consistently reply, which means your own performance have to be very, you have to be very engaging to your customers. So
and with that said, comment below, guys. Here's my quick commercial break to say comment below if you have questions for J&D. Comment on our Facebook, YouTube, or Kumu live stream, and just let us know if you have any questions for Jane. see the little segue, Jane?
I love it.
But I love what you said about also looking at the bottom line of revenue, because I feel like some people get caught up in just building these amazing castles of a brand.
Correct.
And then it's like a sandcastle, and it washes away very fast.
Yeah. But are you slowly, you're slowly realizing where I'm coming from, right? The foundation and the values have to be so intact. And as a business, that's also turning a profit, or your financial resources. That has to be intact because you can build whatever brand online. If you're not making money, it's a hobby.
Yeah, damn. Yes. Okay. I don't know how to segue. Okay, next. How do you define a successful brand?
How do you define a successful brand? I think I mentioned it before. I think more than just consistency, like the brand has to meet the customer's expectation all the time. That's it. That's all. Very simple. But obviously there's a branding strategy, there's brand planning involved, all that stuff. But the simplest answer is Jane D walks into a, okay, let's do something different. Jane D watches Michael Jordan. Okay, so Michael Jordan is a brand, a person, but also a brand. And every single time Michael Jordan plays basketball, I have a certain expectation of what I see. Like, Air Jordan, all that stuff. But more than that, like, he's entertaining, he's good to look at, he's great at basketball. But at the same time, like when I was actually watching this the other day, the first Dream Team Olympic, and it was the entire with Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan. I used to be like I'm a big Michael Jordan fan even until now. But at that point in time, I was watching it. I knew I was going to be entertained, but also like how Michael Jordan interacts with these people, how he talks, how he is. Like, what to expect when you go to a Michael Jordan show or when you go to a Michael Jordan basketball game. Same with, let's see, if I go and buy a Hermes bag, same. By the time I go to an Hermes store, or by the time I go, from the time that I step into the store all the way until post-sale service, I know as a customer what I'm getting. You're paying X amount, the VIP experience has to be triple times that. That's how luxury brand works. But they make the customer feel better. They're always delivering like consistency, and the expectations are always met or even exceeded.
Nice. So I'm going to segue from our questions for a little
Sure.
bit. Is this something you always knew when you were growing up, or was it something that you learned when you moved to Hong Kong and you were working with all these brands?
I think it wasn't something that I knew. I mean, when I went to I went to LaSalle University, guys. So yay, Animal, whoever is here. I'm the first, if not I'm the first. Like our class was the first one or two to do the advertising management course, and I chose that because I'm not good at math, so I can't do like accounting or anything. I was just like, oh, that sounds fun. Let's just do that. And I just thought it was such a fun time, and I wanted to work. I wanted to work in brands because it seems just fun. I didn't want to go in that serious industry like banking, lawyer, doctor. I should have, but so when I started that, so I started learning about brands. And the thing about me going to luxury was also because I remember when I was really young, and my father would, our summer breaks would always be in Hong Kong. So, you would stay at like Causeway Bay, nice Excelsior. That time it was like the Excelsior Hotel. And he would always take me to Ocean Park. And I love it. And then we would always like people watch around Central or Victoria Park. And the one thing I always remember is like I was looking at all these women, and they're like super independent, always dressed nice in a Louis Vuitton bag, and
Yeah,
and I
I
was
know.
like, I want this to be me one day. And my dad's like, well, let's see. We're in the Philippines and there. So I think that was my first touch point, as if you will, getting into understanding like luxury brands. And I feel like at that time it's associating a luxury brand to like independent, powerful women, I think.
I
So
know
I was like,
exactly.
yeah, I want to be like that. I want to, earn my own money, and I want to live in Hong Kong. That's basically it.
I had a very similar experience. I was trying to model back in college then, right? And I remember going there and talking to agencies, and I would be like sitting in the lobby with my portfolio, and
Yeah.
in walked like this amazing, beautiful, like like when someone walks in, it's like a presence, it's a vision,
Yes.
right? And I know exactly what you're talking about with like how she was dressed, and I remember how she talked and everything, and I was like, I remember being like maybe 19 years old and saying, "Oh my God, I want to be like her one day."
Yeah.
And it was like that memory of like grace and power and that sort of thing. And I don't even know who she was, but it was a presence. But I understand what you mean about like a first impression of a brand when
Exactly.
and
But it's an emotion, right? So a brand also evokes emotion. So, but my point was that image is what became a goal. So then you think about, and I'm speaking about this, connected to my life, but like, and then I have this goal that I wanted to achieve. So was to come to Hong Kong and be independent and be a career woman. And I'll tell the story later. But I think that was a time when I'm like, brands or good brands are always associated with powerful women. That's what I thought. So I was like, okay, I want to work for a luxury brand. That's it. I didn't know how, when, where, why. I don't know how I'm going to get there. But at one point, I just said, it has to be. And because I keep seeing LV everywhere, I was like, it has to be LVMH. I don't know why. But that time, LV was prevalent. And even now, but at that point in time, like that canvas bag, that brown LV bag, that one. So the Speedy and all the monogram ones. But yeah, that was like in my head all the time growing up. And I said, one day, instead of me buying that, I'll be in that company representing that.
Nice.
Happened.
The spoken word.
I know.
So would you say you learned a lot of these insights as well from working at LVMH and working in other companies in Hong Kong as well?
Yeah, I think when I first started my career, it's always been in the wines and spirits industry. So I started my career properly in Beijing, actually in China. It was with Pernod Ricard, and it's a French company that takes care or distributes or is responsible for a lot of brands, including Chivas Regal, Martell, Royal Salute, Absolute Vodka, and all that. So that started my wine and spirits journey. I was in Beijing for about 2 years, and then Shanghai for about 2 years, 2.5 years as well. And then because you're always surrounded by that industry, as I said, you have to look at your competitors. You always have to look at what your competitor, not because you want to copy them. You need to be aware of what everyone is doing around you to see how you can improve. It's always about improving, not copying, improving. Okay, guys. And the competitor is Moet Hennessy. It's always been, so Moet Hennessy is Moet Chandon, Dom Perignon, Veuve Clicquot, Belvedere Vodka, Hennessy, of course. And you're always looking at what they're doing and their branding strategy. It's always so luxurious and so glamorous and so great, right? And luckily, I was given the opportunity to work for them in Hong Kong. So I moved to Hong Kong when I was 28 years old. My boss, Ruby Tang, she's still a very good friend of mine. She's my mentor, but she's a good friend. She met me in Shanghai and offered me a job to take care of Asia Pacific for the entire Moet Hennessy wine portfolio to start, and eventually for Belvedere Vodka. So that's when I got into LVMH. So MH is the Moet Hennessy portfolio. And because it's all of that one conglomerate, you're always surrounded by these beautiful brands. And that was in Hong Kong, 28 years old.
That's amazing. 28 years old to head Asia Pacific.
I know. Isn't that, I was so overwhelmed. I was so scared. I didn't know if I could make it. I didn't know if I was going to get fired every day. But, like it's all mental health too. And it's not just mental, but it's also hard work and also understanding the industry consistently and being able to like speak with your customers. But yeah, it was such a great time. It was such a great time learning the ins and outs of branding. And my boss, Ruby, she's a very good teacher and very like strategic.
Nice. So speaking of strategy, what do you think makes a good marketing strategist?
All these questions, Vicky.
On a Friday
night.
Okay,
a good marketing strategist. One needs to be very adaptable, agile, flexible, solutions-oriented, and would be able to work in all industries. A marketing person, just because you work in, let's say, F&B, or you work in tech, or you work in, consumer goods, or you work in luxury brands, doesn't mean you stay there. Yes, it's easier to jump from I know I keep saying luxury brands because I used to work there. I'm familiar with it, but let's just say you've been working with Facebook and then next you're working for Amazon. I feel like a good marketing person can jump different industries because the strategy and the theory and how you apply it is quite, it's not similar. You need to obviously understand, the brand DNA and identity and all of that stuff. But like, again, the values, the values and the theory is similar. And if you know how to think and apply it properly, then you're very good. But yeah, adaptability is now. Adaptability, you need to be agile. Flexibility is also very key, especially in our current changing landscape.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Like, how did you observe the landscape change during COVID?
Wine.
What?
No, I was when I didn't even know what I was, because I just started my company then, and I was actually quite there was a lot of stress and anxiety, like everyone in the world. But I feel like right now, everything a good marketing or brand strategist needs to know that at least 50 or 70% of your initiatives you have to shift it online. If you have a physical store and if you have a brick and mortar, your brand presence, at least right now, if you're not doing it as of right now, you need to plan that you need to shift everything online. And I also think that someone who is even more senior than I am, or has to know the new tools that can communicate to a new type of customer. So the other day, I just downloaded Clubhouse. The
Yeah.
Clubhouse. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's a new
We're
one,
on it.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Another one was saying, "Oh, you should go to TikTok," and I was like, "Oh, but I have to because I need to understand how people use it as a consumer, right? Like, and the new generation is also like growing up to be quite smart and discerning, and it's such a good tool to understand them directly, one on one. Everyone needs to know that technology is going to be used in all places. Like it's going to be a mass tool that one shouldn't be intimidated by. So no matter what, you have to keep on learning what is changing landscape. Like as a marketing person, you always have to be up to date, and it's nonstop learning. Even right now, I'm like, okay, so what's the next one after Clubhouse? And people are like looking at it like crazy. I'm just trying to understand Clubhouse, and I'm like, oh, you have to update your Instagram, your Facebook, your Twitter, and I was like, oh my god, enough. And not even that, you have to look at, for me right now, because I'm in Hong Kong, I'm looking at China, right? So China is a massive market, like Crazy Rich Asian. I'm not just saying that, but as a demographic, it's an entirely different ballgame as well. Like WeChat is different, Weibo is different. So I need to learn that too. So a lot of learning, definitely, but the learning, you have to know how to apply it to the brands you're working, because not everything works for your brand. Maybe choose
Absolutely.
one or two. Yeah, you can. Your focus has to be very like, very straight and intact, and you need to know what the brand is and who the brand DNA, to be able to know what tools would be very, very good for them. Wow,
Nice.
big thinking.
You don't
I
like
know.
you don't
I'm
like
usually doing this on a Monday morning, not on a Friday night.
Well, that's just how we do it here at Next Theory, always changing things up.
For sure. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I love it.
Even with us, I mean, you were there. You were there when I started Next Theory in Hong Kong, and
I remember.
I was by myself, walking up to you in meetings, and just trying to hustle and trying to get clients. And I didn't have a track record in Hong Kong.
I know.
What do you think are the key differences with working, for example, in the Philippines and in Hong Kong?
Culture plays a massive difference, for sure. I think I'm both Chinese I'm both Filipina, Chinese, and then but I call Hong Kong my home, right? So my family were very traditional conservative Chinese, and I love them to bits. But I'm also emotional like a Filipina, like anyone. And I like, I like my Jollibee and I like my spaghetti. But my work ethic is very like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? It's a very Hong Kong thing. Like, what's a new innovation? What can we do? If I'm not doing this, what else can I do? So I'm very like, everyone keeps saying you're doing a lot of things. I feel like they are right, but also I'm thinking about a lot of things that I can apply to the next step. So in the Philippines, I feel people when they're like when I was working in the Philippines, I was working for Crate and Barrel, which is fun. Like I love that brand, and I love the people that I work with as well. I feel like being in Crate and Barrel in the Philippines, it's understanding what a Filipino household needs, right? And then delivering that, I guess, experience on what they feel Crate and Barrel should be in their lives. When I was working for wine and spirits in Hong Kong and also now with Beyond Beauty, it's always like, okay, I've given this to the customer. What else can I do to make your experience better? What's next? What's next? What's the next social media tool? Whereas in the Philippines, it's a little bit slower, obviously.
Yeah.
It's our culture. Like we like to relax, we like to have fun, we like to take things a little bit more, not just, I don't like the word slow, but more like comfortable there.
Yeah.
Whereas in Hong Kong, we're like, you can't be too comfortable because someone else can get your job in like 3 months.
Yeah.
So you have to keep on innovating and you have to keep on thinking. So.
Or it's what I said earlier, like you can't get too comfortable. It's like I have rent to pay.
Exactly.
I go, and this is like high rent. I'm not used to this. That was my experience when I moved there. I was like,
it's adulting, right? It's adulting. Like it's an expensive city.
Yeah. For the 2.5 years I experienced, I just knew that I had to level up to be able to, I mean, it was a city that super inspired me and it still does. I wish I can come back, but it made me take a look around as well as the other people in the workforce who are also striving to get their dreams accomplished. And everyone I talked to had a startup, was working in a super cool company or super cool cafe or restaurant, or they were pushing the boundaries. And this isn't like, for example, if it was a restaurant, it wasn't just a restaurant in Hong Kong. Like you could tell they were trying to push a certain scene globally, right? Or if a new brand came up, they were still trying to be very different, but globally. It was just a very different experience. And I think for me, not seeing that or witnessing that, but I was able to get, I guess, firsthand role models of how to expand my perspective and my worldview. And Jane, you're one of those people as well, just by how you're speaking, and how you're speaking and how you're talking and getting to know you over the years. You always reached for the best and not out of
I fail a lot though, by the way, guys. I'm not saying like I try a lot of things and like I try 10 things, one works. So but that, and I'm like, okay, there are times I'm like, oh, I don't want to get up in bed, like this is going to be another long day, but I think for me right now it's about just keep pushing forward and I always do small steps. Like let's just say I have a lot of things to do today. The first thing I would do is like just get out of bed, make your bed. So that's one thing done. And then drink a nice cup of coffee. That's 2 things done. And then, do your devotion and then do a run. By the time it's lunch, you're like, okay, I'm ready to go. Like I can take the, but like increments, like solid. Yeah. Because it builds a foundation. But yeah, I know what you mean. And maybe it's more global but Hong Kong is a global city. Like it's such a melting pot of people that you don't know who you're going to meet next, be it in business or personal or any, right? And the conversations you have can range from like, talking about luxury cars, talking about, the new tech, food, fashion, art, and you have to be on top of these things as well. So a lot of learning.
Sorry, do you hear that? You hear that?
Oh, wow.
Again. Okay. Yeah. Just going back, it's really what I really admired. I really admired your example in terms of how you were always reaching for the best. And again, it wasn't out of a place of entitlement. It was more you wanted, like it
I want
inspired.
to improve. I want
Yeah,
to
and
improve.
in those spaces and being around those people who are always striving for the best. We interviewed someone last year for our podcast, and there was a quote there. Have you heard of this? Iron sharpens iron. I'm sure you have, right? And that's what I see with you, and that's how I feel also being around you. Like every time you come back to the Philippines and I have a conversation with you, and then you leave and go back to Hong Kong, I always feel a little bit sharpened.
Oh,
You know?
I'm glad.
Yeah, it just it
Anytime
always
you need to ask a question, I'm more than happy to help. It's just a WhatsApp away.
yeah.
Thanks
So
for telling me that.
so my last question before we close it out, what do you think are the makings of a girl boss?
Wow, Vicky, what is going on with all these questions? Girl boss. Okay, so you know, when I was growing up, I always I'm always intimidated by my boss. You know, like it's always whenever you say boss, like it's somewhat intimidating. I think for me right now, if I have someone that is a girl boss, or if I'm gonna be one, first is like humility is so important. So I have 5 things that I always like try to checklist, and I always try to do is humility, integrity, empathy, right? See, I forgot now. Strong, sorry, strong expertise, and then there's another one, but like definitely humility, integrity, empathy. Okay, for as a woman as well, because humility, you have to keep yourself humble enough that you're learning, because someone else, there's always someone better than you.
Hmm.
Always, wherever, whatever industry, whatever area of expertise, there's always someone better than you. So you being humble makes you improve little things every day. Empathy, you need to understand your teammates, you need to understand your customers, you need to understand what they like. Yes, you could be the boss of a really big brand, but at the end of the day, as I'm saying, the brand is not about you, it's about the serve, like it's for your customers. So the serve, it's supposed to serve them and have a better life, whatever. If I mean, you guys know what that means. You have to have integrity, so that means do what you say. That's it, all the time, or mean what you say. And I think that is so important. And then having obviously your strong expertise. What is it that you know that you can share with your team, that you can enlighten, you can inspire? As I said, consistently. And I think, yeah, I think those. It's very important. Oh, sorry. And last, solutions oriented. As a boss, you cannot say, "Oh, I can't do it." No,
Yeah, I
solution,
agree.
like as a boss, you always have to be looking at every aspect, all channels, anything that you can find a solution. You cannot say to your team, "It cannot be done."
Yeah.
For me, I remember when my boss was like, I was like, "Oh, I don't know how to do it," and I was like, "What?" The things that I've been hearing is like, "Why did I hire you for? Do you have, what is the new strategy?" There's no. If you think properly, there's always something that can be done. And as a boss, I would want you to think that you've exhausted all means before you come back to me and be like, "It can't be done."
Absolutely.
But yeah, solutions oriented. I think that thinking is, because you're always finding ways to solve the problem.
Yeah, and I think that's a great mindset in terms of how do you look at something, but instead of seeing a wall, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, how do I climb over the wall? Like, can I walk around the wall? Can I, like, not taking that as the answer, right? And I think, yeah, in terms of a girl boss or a female leader, just let's rephrase girl boss into female leader. It's always about, what I'm hearing is it's always with the values, it's always that paired with the drive to move forward.
Yeah.
And if things come in the way as challenges, you're willing to take on the challenge because you still want to move forward, right? So you're not easily
Positive outlook, with a positive outlook, with
yeah,
optimism.
positive outlook.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jane, for a wonderful and deep conversation on our Friday night.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm glad to be here.
Of course, I'm so grateful that we message and then we FaceTime. And it honestly does feel like we're just having coffee in power plant or having wine somewhere.
And it's quite organic, right?
Yeah, and for anyone who's watching, this is how I talk to Jane all the time, right? Maybe not with all this many structured questions and deep words, but it's the essence is there in terms of our soul conversations and our business conversations. And Jane, I just want to thank you for also being a mentor to me in the past few years.
You're more than welcome.
And I've learned so much from you, and I'm glad that our team and our audience got to learn from you as well tonight.
I'm glad, guys. And honestly, like if you have any questions, send it over. I'm more than happy to help, especially about building brands or where to start, how to sustain. Yeah, more than happy. Don't be shy.
Yeah, don't be shy. Jane's the best. All right, guys, if you like this, don't forget to follow Jane at Miss Jane D. And don't forget to follow us at Next Theory on Facebook, Kumu, and YouTube. And I hope you enjoyed this episode tonight. Catch us again next week for another live episode right here on Theoretically Speaking. Bye.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.
La la la, so good, yeah, yeah.
Theoretically speaking.
La la la, yeah, yeah. La la la, so good, yeah, yeah.